absolutely. One of the things that really sparked my interest in joining MegaCorp was their willingness to think differently. Many companies, and this is not just true of supply chain companies or logistics companies, or I think this happens across industries. Most companies say, well, we've done it this way, it's worked, so we'll keep just doing it this way. And there are a number of, the most popular example of maybe not doing that is Blockbuster in comparison to Netflix, but it's the easiest example. But there are a lot of other smaller examples that are out there. And one thing about MegaCorp is the willingness to say, could we be doing this differently? Could we be taking a different approach? Could we be looking at this from a different perspective to change the way that we interact, the way that we service customers, what we are doing to service customers, and the offerings that we have that fit today, the market as it is today versus the market as it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, and just assuming it's kind of probably about the same now. And so that was a big reason that I looked at and eventually made the transition over to MegaCorp. So MegaCorp is a third-party logistics firm. What we do is help shippers who need to move things in a variety of different ways. We help them to understand optimal paths for moving whatever that thing is that they have to move. Every shipper is a little different. They all have different stuff. And then we help them to find and match them with a provider that can do what they need done. Move the thing in the way that they need it, from a time perspective, from a security perspective, from a temperature perspective, all those different things. And there are hundreds of thousands of shippers that all move different things. There are hundreds of thousands of providers that move things in different ways. So MegaCorp sits in between that as really a liaison or a consigliere for your supply chain to make sure that it's operating smoothly, it's operating efficiently, and effectively. There's always this balance that you go through technology. And I've been in technology for many, many years now, and always served in more of that engineering leadership role, things like that. From except for some early jobs where they were like, build this, and I built that. But I think the transition for me was really looking at some of the technology that was produced, and not just what was produced, but how it was produced, the intent behind the production, and seeing a gap there of technology being produced in many cases for technology's sake, as opposed to, I'm going to produce this to solve a very specific business problem that we need solved, and that technology could help with. And as I started working, I would be asked to build something or to manage something or to set something up, and it was like, okay, but is that really solving their problem, or are we just saying, well, I've got this hammer over here, so that must be a nail. So okay, great. Let me start hitting away at it. And I really wanted to get into, especially technology leadership, to change that and say, hey, let's look at what the business problem is we need to solve. Let's look at the tools that are available, and let's marry those together in a way that quickly and effectively solves the business problem. And I feel like there's the opportunity to do that where I am now, but I feel like that's what really triggered my desire to kind of get into this aspect of technology, the kind of the leadership aspect. when you think about the toughest challenges, and I think this is, again, I'm going to speak not strictly for MegaCorp. I think these are more universal technical challenges. Agentic AI always ranks, I think, high up there. At least it should be ranking high up there for people, but maybe not for the reasons a lot of people think. There's the technical component of agentic AI. There's the trust component. There's all these kind of things that there's a lot of work that's been done around that, and there's a lot of theories and approaches to those different problems that are inherent in the technology. The thing that I think people don't pay as much attention to is, how do you effectively incorporate AI and agentic AI into an organization, especially a going concern, an existing living organization? And how do you do that in a way that leverages the technology not as the kind of doomsday replacement, but as a way to scale your business much faster and more effectively than you could before that technology was introduced? And that's very easy to say. It's much harder to do. So that's one of the challenges that we are currently going through. And I don't think we have all the answers. I don't know that anybody really has all the answers, but I think there's some very specific things about how you think about organizational design, how you think about incorporating digital workers into your workforce, as opposed to I've implemented a tool to do a thing, in that deterministic viewpoint. But how do I think of this as a fallible piece of technology? Most people think of technology as infallible because they're used to deterministic systems, that you do this, you put this input in, and this output always happens. That's not how this works. This works much more like a person, where you tell them something and there are a range of potential outputs that can happen. And some of those are well within range, and those are just fine. But there's that incorporation and how you think about bringing the technology in a safe manner to support people and to support organizational growth is critical. So that's a big challenge that we're undertaking. Another big challenge, and again, I think this exists across industries, although logistics is definitely one of the industries where I think it's telling in its I would say lack of maturity, but its need for further maturity. I'll say it that way, which is data quality, data availability, and data utilization. There's a lot of knowledge, for example, that's in MegaCorp. It's been around, a long time, has very experienced people working within it who have worked in this industry and done this work for a number of years. But how do you leverage and your data? And you have to consolidate it. You have to clean it. You have to validate it. You have to enrich it. You have to do all of these different things to really be able to start to leverage data effectively. And these two things are a little bit of a chicken and the egg, because AI, and agentic AI especially, only works if you give it good data. Allowing an agent or any AI, for a foundational model in general, to make an assumption is a recipe for disaster, because that's where hallucinations come from, and that's it's leaving things out of the context that you've provided it, and data is that context. So those are two big challenges that I think are not just a MegaCorp challenge, but I think they're technology challenges that MegaCorp also is working through. To me, one of the core differentiators between a high-performing team and another team is where they put their focus. there's been terms that have been bandied about within technology and non-technology circles for a number of years now. Democratization of technology, to whatever you want to say, democratization of X, whether that's development, whether that's, whatever it may be. There's been this democratization concept that's been out there. And I don't know that we've had the tools that we have available now to allow for that. And I wouldn't call it democratization. I fall much more into a Ratatouille approach, the Disney movie to technology, which is, the Ratatouille version is, not everyone can be a great chef, but a great chef can come from anywhere. The tools we have today enable that. What high-performing technology teams, I think, have started to grasp is the need to focus on the foundational aspects of technology and ensure that they are providing the building blocks and the guardrails to enable others to effectively leverage these amazing tool sets to create technology that supports the execution and achievement of business strategic goals. Whereas if you look at, and this goes back to, are you operating in the same way that you used to, or have you understood the paradigm shift? Have you understood that we live in a new world, not just as a business, but as a technology provider to a business? And high-performing teams are the ones that are able to create the environment where they can relinquish a degree of control over the technology. A non-high-performing team is the one that continues to hoard the access, hoard the creation component, and hold that very tightly to their vest without considering that there are great chefs in their organization that maybe just haven't been provided with the right environment and tool set to show that skill. And so that I think is it's a key differentiator in today's world. Leadership is always evolving to a certain extent, but there's some core tenets that are still there. And I'm a big fan of the book Extreme Ownership, and a lot of my leadership tenets that I work to practice and don't always get it right. But and then I ask my leaders to also practice, come from that. They're not uncommon, but you've got to delegate. Delegation is a core leadership function, and that hasn't changed. It's just changed in how you think about delegation and the things that you can delegate and how you delegate them. So the age of AI has given us tools now that we can delegate to. So we're not just delegating to people anymore and saying, hey, I need you to get this thing accomplished. We are now also able to delegate to a system to enable that execution. And so the practice of delegation, which we've all worked for people that weren't great at delegating. Either it falls in the pattern of, hey, I need you to do this. So how'd you do that? Did you do that this way? Did you, the micromanager or however you want to describe it, or there's the abdicators as opposed to delegators, which is, I don't know, I asked so-and-so to do that. I'm sure something's happening with it, So those are obviously extremes, and then there's the whole spectrum in between. But delegation to me, and the immediate thought of delegation has fundamentally changed with AI, because now we have a tool we can delegate to and a tool that we can ask to perform things for us, and that we should be bringing in as thought partners, not just even in things that we're asking it to do, but in strategy discussions and in ways that we can use it as a thought partner to improve the overall outcome for how we as leaders approach driving and designing and driving business strategy. And that level of support has never really been there before. Before the proliferation of access to these foundational models, we had to find, you could find mentors, and there were mentor groups and things like that, but they, sometimes you could get to those, sometimes you couldn't. Now you have an always on thought partner, or even thought partners, depending on how you configure your supporting foundational models and LLMs. And that we have to lean into that as leaders, because our organizations are going to have to leverage those to be successful in the future. If we're not modeling that behavior and learning the pitfalls and learning the mechanisms to avoid those pitfalls and then pushing those out in the organization, we're not being effective leaders in today's world. The key with moving from kind of that executor role to a more, there's thought leadership and then there's people leadership, and you kind of got to go either direction, is that you have to really, and I'll go back to it, you have to adopt AI as a thought partner. And a thought partner is not a yes man. It's not somebody that you say things to it and then ChatGPT is wont to do. That's a great idea. Yeah, one, tell your LLM to stop saying that to you. But you have to start challenging your beliefs. You have to come in with the perspective of, I don't know. The worst mistakes tend to be made when somebody enters into a situation saying, I know everything that's going on here. Worst mistakes get made right there. That you have to take pride, throw it over there, and say, okay, I have some thoughts, but I don't know. So let's take those initial thoughts and really and model it. And that's a key skill that, it feels, and it's not saying you have to be just going around saying, I don't know what's going on, but you always want to enter it with, there's pieces here I don't know. And then you use the tools that you have, whether that's people that you're working with, whether that's tool sets like LLMs, to help you to fill in those gaps, to help think through those gaps in knowledge, because it's changing so quickly. You, by definition, have gaps. There's no way that you are expert on all the things that are happening. So you have to cop to that, and you have to be okay with it. And you have to be also willing, I think, to make a decision without the benefit of perfect knowledge. That is the hallmark of leadership, is making a call, and that doesn't mean you have zero knowledge before you make the call. Try to get something, but you have to be able to make the call with imperfect and incomplete information. And if you are finding yourself, well, but I don't know this, let me go research this. Oh, but if I don't know this, go research this. That is not a path to leadership. That is a path to analysis. And there are analysts, and we need analysts still, although AI is pretty good at analyzing stuff. So I would definitely encourage you to figure out your threshold, and then try and drive that threshold down a little bit. Because as engineers and as technologists, we tend to start with a very high threshold for analysis. We want a lot of data. We want a lot of information. We want all of this to be kind of perfect. And to move from that execution to leadership, you have to move down the level of certainty in your information or in your decisioning process. We were looking to, as I said before, there's data issues that we have. We wanted to really focus on and build up our data practice within the organization. And we felt like Revelo had good options and opportunities for us to do that more quickly than we could through a traditional kind of external hiring process. And going through that. So given the support in identifying candidates and bringing those candidates on and working with those candidates and helping to manage those candidates, it lets us focus a little bit more on the execution and what we need to do, the strategy and the support and all those, and less on some of the administrative components that are part of a standard kind of hiring practice. I think we're moving more quickly down our path to improved data quality. I'll never say perfect data quality, but at least improved data quality, which was a core, it's a core strategy that we have and a core issue that we need to continue to improve upon as an organization. So that's definitely been a great change. I would say just make sure that you have a clear idea of where you want to go. And whether it's Revelo or whether it's any other partner that you're working with, if you can't clearly articulate a need and a direction, it's hard for that partner to partner with you. It's hard for them to satisfy. And invariably, you're both going to be very disappointed with the engagement because you're not clearly articulating, which means you're not going to get great responses back. So be definitive, be clear, make sure there's alignment, and that will it's going to help whether it's Revelo or whether it's any other partner that person works with.